Hi, kids. Guess what? Tomorrow's Christmas Eve. This is a Christmas edition of Geeky Grandma Reads a Story. Are you excited? I'm excited. Are you looking forward to seeing any family? It's very hard right now with the pandemic. Sometimes we don't get to hang out with our family and friends like we want to, but we will. We will. We just have to really, really, really appreciate FaceTiming and video chats and Zoom. I want to say hi to Ethan and Hazel and Caleb and Levi and Prometheus and Orion and baby Noah. And today is a special shout out to Logan and Jack and baby Clara. Today's story is called The Crippled Lamb by Max Lucado. You see it? It's a little bit shiny. This is the story I'm reading on the eve of Christmas Eve, which means the night before Christmas Eve. The Crippled Lamb. Once upon a time in a sunny valley there lived a little lamb named Joshua. He was white with black spots, black feet, and sad eyes. Aww. Josh felt sad when he saw the other lambs with snow-white wool and no spots. He felt sad when he saw the other sheep with their moms and dads because he didn't have a mom or dad. But he felt saddest when he saw the other lambs running and jumping because he couldn't. Josh had been born with one leg that didn't work right. He was crippled. That means he couldn't walk. He always limped when he walked. See, these are all the other lambs. And then look. See Joshua? He has sad eyes. That's why he always watched while the other lambs ran and played. Josh felt sad and alone, except when Abigail was around. Abigail was Josh's best friend. Guess what? I know a Abby. I know a Abigail. She didn't look like a friend for a lamb. She was an old cow. She was brown with white blotches that looked like rain puddles on a path. Her belly was as round as a barrel, and her voice was always kind and friendly. Some of Josh's favorite hours were spent with Abigail. Look, see her spots? She looks like mud puddles a little bit. And there's little Joshua, and they're looking at the other lambs over there. He's wishing he could do the same things. They loved to pretend they were on adventures in distant lands. Josh liked to listen to Abigail tell stories about the stars. They would spend hours on the hill looking into the valley. They were good friends. But even with a friend like Abigail, Josh still got sad. It made him sad to be the only lamb who could not run and jump and play in the grass. That's when Abigail would turn to him and say, "Don't be sad, little Joshua. God has a special place for those who feel left out." See, she's trying to encourage him. She's being a good friend to him. Look how beautiful. So beautiful. Josh wanted to believe her, but it was hard. Some days he just felt alone. He really felt alone the day the shepherds decided to take the lambs to the next valley where there was more grass. The sheep had been in the valley so long the ground was nearly bare because they ate all the grass. All the sheep were excited when the shepherd told them they were going to a new meadow. See? That's the shepherd. And that's the shepherd's staff. That's the other shepherds. And they're all excited because they're going to go to a place with brand new grass, unchewed grass. As they prepared to leave, Josh hobbled over and took his place on the edge of the group. But the others started laughing at him. "You're too slow to go the whole way to the next valley. Go back, slowpoke. We'll never get there if we have to wait on you. Go back, Joshua." He feels sad. Have you ever felt sad like Joshua? I have. That's when Josh looked up and saw the shepherd standing in front of him. "They are right, my little Joshua. You better go back. This trip is too long for you. Go and spend the night in the stable." Josh looked at the man for a long time. Then he turned slowly and began limping away. See? But the shepherd loves Joshua. He wants to take care of him, but Joshua feels left out. He feels sad. When Josh got to the top of the hill, he looked down and saw all the other sheep headed toward the green grass. Never before had he felt so left out. A big tear slipped out of his eye and rolled down his nose and fell on a rock. Just then he heard Abigail behind him, and Abigail said what she had always said when Josh felt sad. "Don't be sad, little Joshua. God has a special place for those who feel left out." Slowly the two friends turned and walked to the stable together. See, the two friends, that's Abigail. And all these guys are going to the other valley where there's green grass. By the time they got to the little barn, the sun was setting like a big orange ball. Josh and Abigail went inside and began to eat some hay out of the feed box. They were very hungry and the hay tasted good. "Go to sleep, little friend," Abigail said after they were finished eating. "You've had a hard day." Josh was tired, so he lay down in the corner on some straw and closed his eyes. He felt Abigail lie down beside him, and he was glad to have Abigail as a friend. See, they're eating. There's Abigail, little Josh with his little hurt leg. Soon Josh was asleep. At first he slept soundly, curled up against Abigail's back. In his dream, he dreamed. In his sleep, he dreamed. He dreamed of running and jumping just like the other sheep. He dreamed of long walks with Abigail through the valley. He dreamed of being in a place where he never felt left out. Suddenly, a strange noise woke him up. See, he's sleeping right up against her. What was the sound? What was the sound? "Abigail," he whispered, "wake up, I'm scared." Abigail lifted her big head and looked around. The stable was dark, except for a small lamp hanging on the wall. "Somebody's in here," Josh whispered. They looked around the dimly lit stable. There, lying on some fresh hay in the feed box, was a baby. A young woman was resting on a big pile of hay beside the feed box. Joshua looked at Abigail, thinking his friend could tell him what's going on. But Abigail was just as surprised as Josh. Look, there's Josh, there's Abigail, and there's the baby. Who do you think the baby is? The cat's running around, just so you know. Josh looked again at the woman and the child, then limped across the stable. He stopped next to the mother and looked into the baby's face. The baby was crying. He was cold. The woman picked up the baby and put him on the hay next to her. Josh looked around the stable for something to keep the baby warm. Usually there were blankets, but not tonight. The shepherds had taken them on their trip across the valley. Oh, look. See? The baby was cold. And there's Josh saying hi to the baby. And there's the young woman. Do you know the young woman's name? I do. Then Josh remembered his own soft, warm wool. Timidly, he walked over and curled up close to the baby. "Thank you, little lamb," the baby's mother said softly. Soon the little child stopped crying and went back to sleep. About that time, a man entered the stable carrying some rags. "I'm sorry, Mary," he explained. "This is all the cover I could find." "It's okay," she answered. "This little lamb has kept the new king warm." A king? Joshua looked at the baby and wondered who he might be. "His name is Jesus," Mary spoke as if she knew Josh's question. "God's son. He came from heaven to teach us about God." Look. Josh kept him warm. And there is Jesus' dad, Joseph. All he could find was the one rag, so it's a good thing. Good thing that Josh was there, keeping the baby warm. Just then there was another noise at the door. It was the shepherds. the one who had left Joshua behind. Their eyes were big and they were excited. We saw a bright light and heard the angels, they began. Then they saw Joshua next to the baby. Joshua, do you know who this baby is? He does now. It was the young mother who was speaking. She looked at Joshua and smiled. God has heard your prayers, little lamb. This little baby is the answer. Look. There's the other shepherds. And look. Oh. Look at Joshua. And there's baby Jesus and Mary and Joseph. Joshua looked down at the baby. Somehow he knew this was a special child, and this was a special moment. He also understood why he had been born with a crippled leg. If he'd been like the other sheep, he would have been in the valley. But since he was different, he was in the stable among the first to welcome baby Jesus into the world. Aw, look. Aw. See, he doesn't feel left out now. No, he feels very special. He turned and he walked back to Abigail and took his place beside his friend. You were right, he told her. God does have a special place for me. The end. What a beautiful story. Do you ever feel left out? I sometimes do. And sometimes I don't know what I'm supposed to do and how I'm supposed to do it. But God always gives me something to do. And right now, he gave me the chance to read stories to you because you are special. So, I love you, Ethan and Hazel and Caleb and Levi and Prometheus and Orion and Noah. And I love you, baby Logan. And I love Jack and baby Clara. Love to you all. And Merry Christmas.